Hello and welcome to another video by Rick Miracle, me. In the series Freemasonry and Satanism, number 71, part 1, with the new book here. Jewish Influence in American Life. I've done some of Henry Ford's books before. I think there's a 4-volume set. I have all 4 now. There's a lot of articles in the other books I'd like to go over in the future. Crazy stuff. The takeover of baseball. The takeover of the liquor business in the United States. Whiskey production. Making it into a commercial enterprise. Putting additives into the alcohol that was destructive to the humans. Probably causing prohibition. But in this issue here, it's more about the Jewish influences in American life. Volume 3 of The International Jew. As I said before, I'm getting more educated as I do this research. I never had a overwhelming or preponderance of thought or concern or hatred or anything about Jewish people in my whole life. I'm a white guy grew up in Maine, moved to Florida. Now I live in the mountains of North Carolina. Christian. I can't say that I took religious too seriously until I began my research. And I realized it is a serious matter to be taken seriously. And there are forces trying to destroy Christianity, as well as destroy and annihilate the Arabs. And I don't care what religion they are. Christian, Islam, atheists. You just got to be Arab, living in Palestine, Egypt, Syria. All those people being displaced. You think they're singling them out and saying, oh, you're a Muslim? No, it's everybody. When they carpet bomb. So, you know, the world's foremost problem. That's what it says here. They had congressional hearings back in the 1920s, plus or minus, on something called the Jewish problem. What is the Jewish problem? So maybe with a little more research and commentary, I'd like to throw my 2 cents in there, and your commentary, those who watch my videos, leave notes below, suggest things that I wasn't aware of, and if you see any errors in my commentary, or even in this book, point it out, I'll research it. I like to be fair and balanced, really. I can't see that anybody really should be racist. What are you gonna do? Hate Chinese? What are you gonna do? Hate Indians from India? Hate Russians? Hate Australians? Hate the Aborigines? Hate the Mexicans? Hate the American Indians? Hate the people from Germany? Hate the people from England, from Ireland, from Austria, from France, from Spain, from Cuba, Colombia, Ecuador, Argentina, Peru, Iceland. How ridiculous would it be for anybody to hate a race of people, a national people, or a religious group for that matter? In my opinion, it would be absolutely ridiculous. Except, I draw the line on Satanism. I draw the line when a group of people think they are above everybody else. That's common sense. That's exclusionism. People want to control everything, but keep to themselves. Want to take all the wealth. And just because they don't want them around, doesn't fit into their world domination economic outlook, murder 85 or 90% of the people on the planet. Maybe some people have a hatred towards a particular religion. I can see that the Jewish religion, if it has a religion, Goes back to Moses and beyond in Egypt in captivity. Thousands of years before Jesus was ever born. Nobody blames, in my opinion, even thinks about it, that any Jew person today is responsible for Jesus' crucifixion. They weren't there. How many generations since then? I didn't grow up thinking, oh man, they did that. People way back then, the Pharisees, the leaders of the Jewish people, were inspired to hatred because Jesus was becoming popular. And oh my God, what did he preach? Love thy neighbor as you would love yourself. Treat thy neighbor as you would treat yourself. What a horrible thought. You think? Not. But apparently, some people think that is a weakness, a sign of a low intellect. To care, to have empathy. Interesting conversation. They think you're intelligent. Superior. If you're a taker and a murderer. Dominate the rest. So yeah, there we go with Satanism. Makes one wonder, you know, what the battle was in heaven. That Satan, Lucifer, whoever, and the fallen angels were all thrown out. Sent into to hell. Someplace with molten lava, whatever. And now they talk about CERN and all this other craziness, Saturn, opening up the portals to hell and letting the demons loose for a short while. Because then I suppose, as it says in the Bible, God will put an end to it to end the insanity and agony and suffering of humankind. So what are we to believe? So I thought I would continue reading more about these issues and getting, again, a bird's eye view of what Henry Ford back in 1920 had to say. Just like all those other books. You know, you get to see what that author, where it was coming from, where he cited his information. And most of us in the United States and probably Europe didn't spend our youth and our lifetime trying to find out what's going on with certain races and cultures. World domination. It was beyond our imagination. But we are awakening to it. And it might behoove us, if the religious aspect of this is as serious as I think it is, might save our soul. What's that new word I learned? Soul snatcher. That's what some Jewish people were saying when they converted some Jewish people to Christianity. Soul snatcher. And what about when they're doing all this Luciferian teaching now? Aleister Crowley, do as thou wilt. Getting people away from Christianity being saved. Soul snatcher. Do we have souls? Do you believe you have a soul? Reincarnation, do people believe that? Or do people believe, as apparently the Talmudic Jewish people do, or the Zionist Jewish people, the Gentiles, as they call us, cattle, animals, that we're soulless and should be treated as beasts? That's what I read. And then, of course, this series is Freemasonry and Satanism. And the Masonic lodges, Freemasons, anybody who's not a Freemason, part of the fraternal organization, in a temple, which is called the church, which controls our government, and there's supposed to be a separation between church and state. But the satanic religious Freemasons control the state. The Illuminati Freemasons and such organizations, Council of Foreign Relations, Trilateral Commissions, secret groups making decisions, not elected officials. And apparently into a satanic religion ruling our government. So I guess separation of church and state is just for Christianity. The good guy, like they did crucifying Jesus. But the bad guys are still in charge. The haters, the robbers, the thieves. The cause of much suffering and destruction. The cause of 9/11. School shootings, marathon shootings, movie shootings, church shootings. Bombing the U.S. ship Liberty. Balfour Agreement. Planning to annex Palestine. World War I, World War II, German Revolution. Russian Revolution, Chinese Revolution, all of them, French. Crazy. So why don't I get on this? March 26, 1921. November 1921. Of course, you and I weren't around back then. Unless you're really an elderly person, still alive. I suppose some people are 95 years old. And you were back then. You were young. The world's foremost problem. The Dearborn Independent was a newspaper that Henry Ford purchased because, as we know, the media is controlled by the evil monsters ruling our world. Illuminati, Freemasonic people, Jewish people, like the movie theaters. They even have books out, an empire of their own. This is not news to anybody. It's not anti-Semitic, to say the truth. And how can you be anti-Semitic anyways? All the Arabs are Semites. You'd have to just be anti-Arab. They make these things up so they can keep the public from learning the truth. So why don't I read the foreword to the bicentennial edition. In the year 1920, Henry Sr. published The International Jew, a comprehensive study of Jewish power in the United States and throughout the world. I think that's a thing people should look into. If a small group of people control everything throughout the world, it would probably behoove us to investigate and say, well, first of all, why? And second of all, what's the goal? You think? What's the purpose? What's the outcome? And I'm not reading everything. I highlight my sentences. So go get the book. Look on used book sites like Abe Used Books. Couple other ones, just put used books on the internet search engine and you'll see 5 or 6 major places you can put in. The International Jew, Henry Ford, the Dearborn Independent, keywords, and you'll find these books. I believe they'll probably become impossible to obtain in the future. These books have been the best sellers in many parts of the world and have been translated into languages of most civilized countries. Sadly, there are many countries today where possession of these books has been made punishable by confiscation or worse. Trying to eliminate free speech in the USA, Amendment number 1, and gun ownership, Amendment number 2. We people need to pay attention to the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Alright, so here we go. In Germany, for example, a person who wants to borrow the International Jew from a library must first prove that he needs it for historical research. In other words, an ordinary tax-paying member of the public who supports the public library with his hard-earned money is unable to further his knowledge or to satisfy his curiosity in this regard. It is therefore in the interest of spreading truth that we republish these books in full so that new generations shall see for themselves how our problems of today are the same problems which have mysteriously occurred since the turn of the century. The fact that even the wealthy Henry Ford Sr. could be forced to withdraw these books starkly illuminates the power of the Jews even in the 1920s. So this is the new cover, and I don't know when this was republished. What does it say here? Reprinted in 2004, this particular book. Every American who loves his country should make it his duty to buy significant copies for donation to libraries, universities, business associations, etc. Most important, every American parent should at least have one set at home to pass on to his children. Wow, somebody thinks these books are pretty important. The Dispossessed Majority by Wilmot Robertson exposes the rapid increase of Jewish power since the first publication of Henry Ford's great work. No conscientious, thinking American should be without these amazing fact-filled books. Volume 3. All right, now we got the preface, and again, I'm not reading everything. That indeed constitutes the strength of the articles. The facts are provable. They are not disprovable. The reader can confirm the facts from his own observation. This also constitutes the dilemma of the self-appointed defenders of the Jews. They may abuse the Dearborn Independent, but they cannot disprove the facts. They do not even make an impressive denial of them, the facts. The whole situation would be much clarified if Jewish spokesmen would use frankness instead of fuselage of cheap and irrelevant abuses. I was watching a video today. It was concerning, but apparently a lot of holistic healers, doctors, worldly recognized holistic healers, apparently have stumbled across a cure for cancer and many other ailments, and they are mysteriously being killed, dying. Remember the pharmaceutical companies, hospitals? Who owns all these businesses? Who would go out of their way to kill good people trying to cure people, holistic doctors, male and female, and murdering them, bludgeoning them with even a hammer? I don't know. Look it up for yourself. The deaths of holistic doctors, 2015. Very unusual thing. But then we know that astronomers were dying. Banksters were dying. A lot of witnesses and different instances of events. Oklahoma City bombing, 9/11. Many people. A lot of people who worked for the Clintons, mysterious deaths. So I'm just saying, there are ruthless people out there that to move forward for their goal of world domination, enslaving the masses, those they do not kill, they would murder anybody. Dealing with some really insane psychopathic freaks here, in my opinion. You can form your own opinion. But let me read on. The year has witnessed many notable discussion of the Jewish question in magazines of quantity, 1921. A few have descended to whitewashing, fewer still to sheer pro-Jewish propaganda. But such articles as those in the September Century magazine, those in the Atlantic magazine for February, May, and June, the 19th Century and after for April, the true and admirable accounts of Louet Commander Hugo Kohler, of the U.S. Navy in the world's work of July, August, September, and October, these testify to the reality of the matter. The more serious religious press, as represented by the publications like the Christian Standard, the Christian Century, the Moody Monthly, which is published by the Moody Bible Institute, Chicago, have also added material to the literature of the question. So the whole world back then was talking about the Jewish question, the Jewish problem. What was the Jewish problem, the Jewish question? In editorial vision and liberty of discussion, the religious press has shown itself to be freer of control than of the secular press. And I don't see that as today. I think they've infiltrated the Christian press and churches and installed leaders that are pro-Israel, pro-Zionism, and telling the rest of us, if you don't support Israel, you're going to be punished by God. Some of the contents here, I'll hold it up, you can pause it and read it. The Jews and the religious persecution cry. Are Jews victims or persecutors? Jewish gamblers corrupt American baseball. Jewish degradation of American baseball. Jewish jazz becomes our national music. How the Jewish Song Trust makes you sing. Jewish hotbeds of Bolshevism in the U.S. Bolshevism were the Jews who invaded Russia, killed the Tsar and his family, and proceeded to kill, admitted in the Jewish newspaper in Israel, 20 million people, Christians and other good people, destroyed the Christian churches, but not the Jewish temples. But by other research, it's 100 million or more over 10 plus years, and largely by starvation. When they do a revolution, a lot of people die. And in the United States, they want to take the guns. Makes you wonder why. Jew trade links with world revolutionaries. Will Jewish Zionism bring Armageddon? How the Jews used power by an eyewitness. How Jews ruled and ruined Tammany Hall. Jews wires direct Tammany's Gentile puppets. B'nai B'rith's leader discusses the Jews. Jewish ideas in American monetary affairs. Jewish idea molded Federal Reserve Plan. And look how we've suffered since 1913, economically, with these people in charge of our money. The 18 trillion that is supposedly we owe, no money spent on the U.S. here. Taking over all the countries all around Israel, overthrowing them, bombing them, murdering them. And lots of other parts of the world is where that 18 trillion went. And then the private owners of the Federal Reserve are collecting their interest. It's all going to those Zionist banksters in Israel. And it's such an absurd amount that we people in the USA will never even put a dent in it. It wasn't spent on us. I say we don't owe any of it. We should kick the Federal Reserve, tell them to take their mortgages elsewhere. But then again, I'd be sending them out to the rest of the world who would have to suffer under their tyranny. Jewish idea of central bank for America. How Jewish international finance functions. Jewish power and America's money famine. Who was it who said? Rothschilds? I don't care who the leaders of countries are, as long as I control the money. Okay, the writer is of the following letter is a Jew. Gentlemen, because you believe in a good cause, said Dr. Johnson, is no reason why you should feel called upon to defend it. For by your manner of defense, you may cause harm, you may do your cause much harm. The above applying to me, I will only say that I have received the books you sent me and read both with much interest. You are rendering the Jews a very great service, that of saving them from themselves. It takes courage, nerve, and intelligence to do it, and pursue such a work, and I admire you for it. So a Jewish person wrote this letter to the newspaper for writing these books, that they are doing a lot of courage and nerve, intelligence to do it, and you are rendering the Jews a very great service, that of saving them from themselves. The Jews and the religious persecution cry. And again, I'm only reading portions. So if you're really interested, get the book. In the defense that has been set up for them, they know that they have not had their money's worth, neither from Jewish money collectors, nor from the Gentile fronts, of whom the money has been paid. No intelligent Jew in the United States ever was asinine enough to declare that the Jewish question is a religious question and that the Dearborn Independent investigation of that question constitute religious persecution. So let me just say this. It can't be a religious question. Because if a Jewish person embraces Jesus, the Christianity religion, he's still a Jewish person. So a Jewish person, this has been one of those little mind games they keep playing with us. Is it a religion or is it a race? Is it a race of people like Mayans from Mexico, Aborigines from Australia, American Indians, that's a race. Chinese is a race. And there's probably many different variations of Chinese. Africans are a race. So are these Jewish people a race? And if they are, what kind of race? Some of them are white, some of them are brown, some of them are black, Oriental. So it just makes one wonder, what is it that makes them a race? Is it some other alien type of DNA in their blood? A characteristic that just makes them different and want to not interbreed with everybody else and behave differently? Is it a separate race of entities? Because I know they don't want to dilute their bloodline and intermarry with other races. They want to keep it pure. So what is it? Just a question. Me pondering. Alright, moving on. On the contrary, supported by the highest Jewish authority, this paper has held that the Jewish question is one of race and nationality. So nationality is a big issue. So you got religion, race, and nationality. And so all Jews all over the world, this is something people should know. No matter what country they reside in, Canada, America, Mexico, Argentina, Germany, France, England, consider themselves dual national citizens of those countries, plus Israel. And you can't serve two masters. So their highest allegiance, which they all know, is towards Israel. So you've got this world force of people everywhere, all over the planet, with a vicious goal of getting in high places, ownership of companies, and the ends justify the means. So whether it's murder or trickery, however they get there, they get there. And of course, not all Jewish people. And their priority nationality is towards Israel. Homeland Security, wasn't that Chernoff guy dual citizen? Alan Greenspan? I could go on. All these people surrounding Obama, surrounding President Woodrow Wilson, surrounding George Bush. The biggest political action committees in the U.S. are Jewish PACs. And the Zionist Christians seem to have infiltrated the Christian churches and are trying to eliminate Christianity, saying Jesus isn't the answer. And they want to destroy Christianity. So there's some obvious questions we all should be asking. What are they afraid of? Why do they hate Christianity? What does the Bible say? Jesus said, whoever shall believe in me shall be saved. So why do they not want us to believe in Jesus? Do they not want us to be saved? Are they trying to snatch souls? And witchcraft and all that stuff, occultism, Kabbalah, Church of Satan, all that is on the rise. All you got to do is watch the football halftime shows and cartoons and movies and Grammys and Emmys and Olympic openings and these grotesque Kali Shiva type rituals going on. Okay, so the first is the question of race or nationality. Second, there is no religious persecution of the Jew in the United States. And even the Jews admit there's never been any religious persecution of Jews in the United States. Heck, Before World War II, before World War I and World War II, there wasn't any religious persecution of Jews in Germany. The religious suppression was from Russia, and Germany was giving the Jews safe haven. Unless the agitation of various humane societies for the abolition of kosher killing. So some people were complaining about the way they killed animals to eat. May be considered such. So the only reason they got any kind of anti-Jewish attack, ridicule, were for some of the things they did. And when anybody comes into a social group of people and they don't want to assimilate, but they want to agitate and change everything, or doing things that are obnoxious, which apparently, if you do some serious research, even in the Atlantean age, when the Atlantis Islands were sinking, and they went to Egypt, in my research of history, it was a big problem. Because these Atlanteans were had superior knowledge and intellect, and could even do cloning and creating of man and beast. We've all seen mythology, half horse, half man, and other types of grotesque creatures. Well, they were doing this when they moved into Egypt, when Atlantis, the islands, were sinking. And it was a big battle between the Egyptians and these Atlanteans about these creatures for sex slaves, other kind of slaves. So there was a fight, and finally they settled on the issue, and the Atlanteans had to cease and desist from this creating of monsters, cloning, eugenics. Just saying, some of this really weird, sick stuff goes back, way back in history. So the Massachusetts Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. Spit it out. I mentioned the Atlantean thing and the creatures in Egypt because the history goes way back. But it seems like, as we all know, history repeats itself. With this cloning and eugenics and all this other craziness coming on. Crazy creatures washing up on beaches, sky spraying with chemicals, HARP systems, computer systems, monitoring everybody, wanting to microchip everybody, Monsanto foods, and so many other weird things going on these days. You just wonder what these secret societies, what do they know about Atlantis? And in the secret mystery school books, they discussed the Atlantean period in ancient history, which is in all those Babylonian texts. Zachariah Stitchins. I think after I get through with these Jewish question, Jewish problem series I'm doing right now, we'll move back into that realm, wondering who and what these people are. In the secret societies, Illuminati, Rosicrucian, Freemasonic, Jesuits, and so many more. Assassins. What do they know? Witchcraft. Kabbalah. So anyways, apparently they had kosher killing. The Massachusetts Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals has published a valuable study on the Jewish method of slaughtering animals for food, in which it adduced much scientific evidence to support the conclusion that the Jewish method is needlessly cruel. Needlessly cruel. The Jewish method of slaughter is now practiced, is not commanded by the Old Testament, but in the Talmud. Oh, the bad, dreaded Talmud. The one that says the best of the goyim shall be killed. Non-Jew. And is therefore not religious in the authoritative sense, but traditional. So they got a man-made written book by rabbis over the ages for controlling and manipulating mankind and their plan for the future, as they deem that they are superior intellect and have souls, and the rest of us are dumber and don't have souls. Nice, huh? Third, the fact is that while there is no religious persecution of the Jews, there is very much real religious persecution by the Jews. And the Jews control most of everything. I'm not trying to be anti-Jew people here, because a lot of Jewish people have taught me what I know. Rabbi Marvin Antoine, to eliminate the opate. Opate means the belief in God, and obeying the commandments, the comfort. And Henry Macau, PhD, Canadian author, Illuminati, the cult that hijacked the world. These would be the secret mystery school of Babylon, magicians and witchcraft, including the people of Zionism and Talmud. Secret goings-on behind the scenes would behoove us to look into it. And my videos are a guideline. I don't want anybody to believe anything I say. Get the book, do your own research, and satisfy yourself as to what's true and what's not. I've satisfied myself. The bombing of the U.S. ship Liberty says volumes. Our poor soldiers were it was right outside of Egypt, offshore. And Israel jets came along and were just bombing it and bombing it and bombing it. And our soldiers are on the deck waving American flags, waving white flags. What are you doing? We're your friends. But see, they intended to sink it and leave not one witness. And blame it on the Egyptians to create hatred in America. But anyways, it didn't get sunk. And it didn't make the big news. And the president at the time and all the other people who are controlled by these world domination freaks kept it all hush-hush. Look into it. See if it makes you be concerned. Should be concerning to anybody. They've eliminated Christmas. What's with that? Who gives them the right? So the Jews are persecuting us Christians and other people. We know that they're persecuting, murdering all the Arabs in the whole Middle East, and they're fleeing to other countries. Who do you think controls all those wars? Who were involved in 9/11? Who's in high places everywhere? Controlling the Federal Reserve. They're not Christians. CEOs of all the major companies. They're not Christians. Most Christians wouldn't do this stuff. Why was the military purged of many of the military leaders lately? Look that up on the internet. Because they didn't trust them to fire on the American people if ordered to do so. This is going on in Europe too, by the way. That is the one outstanding characteristic of organized Jewish life in the United States. Its active, unceasing, powerful, and virulent attacks upon any and all forms of Christianity which may chance to come to public notice. I just said that. God forbid a senator or a representative is on the podium doing a speech, wanting to get reelected, and says, "My Christian friends." You think the Jews who are in charge, the political action committees and the banks and the money and the corporations and everything, will stand for that? Well, listen here. Now and again we hear of outbreaks of sectarian bigotry between Catholics and Protestants. But these are not to be compared with the steady, relentless, alert, anti-Christian activity of the Jewish organizations. Henry Ford, 1920. Automaker. You like Ford? Think Henry Ford was a good man? He bought a newspaper to try to get the word out about some devious things that were going on in the United States. Okay, there are doctrinal disputes within the Christian churches, but none that challenge the basis of Christianity itself. Organized Judaism, however, is not content with doctrinal disputation, but enlists its vast commercial and political power against everything that it regards as, in its own words, Christological manifestations. Anything Christianity. Goodbye, Christmas. Hello, menorah. 7 candlestick thing, religious symbol for the Jewish people. In Washington, D.C., you know. Goodbye, Christmas. Hello, menorah. All right. Now, these are facts. Being facts, they are important, and they ought to be publicly known. Henry Ford, 1921, 1920. No president of the United States has yet dared to take his inaugural oath on the open pages of the New Testament. Did you know that? The Jews would denounce him when General Pershing announced that he considered the morale of the American soldier, due to the interest of the Christian men and women at home. The Jews had him cut out the word Christian. Various governors of American states have used the word Christian in their Thanksgiving proclamation and have been obliged to exercise it out on demand of the Jews. So they're destroying Christianity. Any question? Why? The word Christian was compelled to be cut out of the officer's training manual at the Plattsburgh training camp. Everything that would remind the child in school that he is living in the midst of a Christian civilization, in a nation declared by the Supreme Court to be founded on Christian principles, has been ordered out of the public schools on Jewish demand. I have one huge thing to say. Go to your desk, wherever you keep it, and look at your calendar. What's the date on there? 2015? Isn't that 2015 years since Jesus was born? The whole United States operates on that calendar. It's a Christian calendar. What are they going to do? Ban the calendar? Change the calendar? The United States is a Christian nation, as much as they don't want people to believe it is. People sometimes ask why 3 million Jews can control affairs of 100 million Americans. 1920. So now it's 350 Americans. 350 million. In the same way that 10 Jewish students can abolish the mention of Christmas and Easter out of the schools containing 3,000 Christian pupils. So 10 Jewish people can cause 3,000 Christian pupils to not celebrate Christmas. That's kind of wrong. But then again, they are bringing us the decadent, perverted, ugly aspects of the Talmud, Zionism, Jewish religion. They control the movies, the TV shows. In a nation at a time when the minority of Jews can print every year a record of apologies, they have extorted from public officials for having inadvertently used the term Christian. Wow. It is desirable that this change of religious persecution should be placed where it belongs. Oh my, this stuff is crazy. In the Daily American Tribune, a Catholic daily published at Dubuque, Iowa, appeared a recent headline which said a great deal. Not persecution of the Jews, but protection of the Christians. All right, it is now proposed to let the Jews speak for themselves on this question. The Jewish press has been searched for an authoritative expression charging that the study of the Jewish question constitute religious persecution, but none has been found. So none of the Jewish press has ever said that they were religiously persecuted against. But there's plenty of evidence that they are religiously persecuting the Christians. That cry has been reserved for Gentile fronts. for use among Christians. All the attacks from the Jewish camp are against the doctrines and institutions of the Christians. They have carried on an insistent and successful persecution, and the details of it have filled the Jewish press for years. Upon reading the following sections, the remark of Dean Swift will probably come to mind. We are fully convinced that we shall always tolerate them, the Jews, but not that they will tolerate us, the Christians. The Red Cross is objectionable to the Jew. H. Hazlazor, in the Jewish Times, proposed that the Magen David be substituted for the Red Cross on the Red Cross Society badges worn by the Jews. So the Magen David, it would be one of their symbols. Look it up. M-A-G-E-N, David. The Gideons are objectionable to the Jews. The Gideons is the name given to the Christian commercial travelers associated of America whose efforts are responsible for the Bibles which are found to be in most hotel rooms. So the Jews object to that. Is there any question they have done? Destroyed Christianity. Saving, whoever believes in Jesus shall be saved. So many people will lose their souls in the end times. It's supposed to be a rapture. And the people believing in Jesus, in Christ, God, and will just disappear. Beamed up, like Beam Me Up, Scotty in Star Trek. But they're trying to eliminate that belief, and they don't want anybody beamed up during the rapture. Soul snatching, I keep saying it. And the Jews are the one who created that term. They said anybody converting a Jew to Christianity was snatching their soul. So what is it? Do we have souls or not? The Gideons have been at it a long time, long enough to know better. But the other day they sent a letter to Max Cohn of this city, who is a traveling man, but the Gideon had no right to ask for funds, and the person who selected him for an easy mark certainly should have better sense. So Mr. Cohn, the last name is obviously Jewish. The Gideons, he says, should have known better than to send him a solicitation of funds to try to put Bibles in motel rooms. I don't know about anybody else who owns a business like I do, but when you get a mailing list and you do a mass mailing, you don't examine all the names on the mailing list. Moving on, Mr. Cohn utterly failed to fall for the invitation, and instead of sending his little donation, he wrote a letter to the secretary, C.A. Johnson, in which he bluntly said he could have just thrown the letter in the trash like we all do when we get commercial mail. But it pushed his button, so let's listen to what he said. Don't you think you ought to use better judgment than to ask me to contribute to a strictly religious work opposite to my own belief? Whoa! Christianity is opposite to his own belief. Christianity is opposite the belief of the Jewish people. The Jewish people control the USA and the world. They're trying to eliminate Christianity, using the court systems and everything else. And this guy got a little peeved because he got a letter from the Gideons, who are putting Bibles in motel rooms, and strictly religious work opposite my own belief. The only work I can think that's opposite of Christianity would be Satanism. The opposite of the Ten Commandments. The people who killed Jesus. Just say it. Opposite my own belief. Okay, what's the opposite of Christianity? Would be evil. What religion? Talmud says the best of the goyim shall be killed. That Talmud also says there were animals. All kinds of other things. Have sex with children, babies. These people can't. promoting homosexuality in the United States, bisexuality, adultery, transgenderism, pansexual, have sex with anything. This isn't America that I love. What they're trying to create is a monster. The Jews do not like the Salvation Army, nor the YMCA. It's in this book. Pause it and read it. Many thousands of printed lines express the fury with which they regard attempts but to Christianize the Army and the Navy during the war, and wild arguments with which they sought to make Y work and Salvation Army work appear to be a violation of the principle of no union of church and state. So they clearly say in here that their religion is opposite Christianity, and they control our state. So when they say church of separation of state, they're talking about the good church, Christianity, while their demonic, satanic, secret mystery schools are controlling our politicians and our governments and the corporations, and further eroding the wealth and health of the USA people and the Europeans. Just saying, the devil's in charge. That's not separation of church and state. If we really wanted separation of church and state, we need to get the devil out of the government also. Just saying. It's not an unbiased situation right now. The devil is in charge. The Jews did not like Theodore Roosevelt's choice of a hymn for their Progressive Party. While Honorable Oscar Strauss, as the nominee for the governorship of New York, on the Progressive ticket, this question rises: will the voters on the east side of New York march to the Progressive battle hymn, Onward Christian Soldiers, or will the song be changed to fit the candidate, American Israelite? The Jews hate with a malice beyond expression what they call mission holes. That is, the place of instruction, a place of instruction maintained by Christian churches. Wow. Mission holes. These people really hate Christianity. Where inquiring Jews may learn what Christianity is. Oh, the biggest fear is that the Christians, the Jewish people, learn about Christianity. And in many instances, where destitute and neglected Jews may receive assistance and counsel. Oh my God. God forbid we try to help a homeless Jewish person and tell them about Jesus. That's their biggest fear. The boast of how the Jew cares for his own is given a jolt by the dire need which has called Christian welfare work into Jewish settlements. This hatred overrode good judgment so completely that in 1911, Assemblyman Hyman introduced into the New York State Legislature a bill making it an offense punishable by fine and imprisonment to entice or tempt a minor under 16 years of age into a religious mission, Sunday school, or church without the written consent of the parent or guardian of the minor. Oh my. The language indicates a part on the contempt in which the welfare work undertaken by Christian institutions for the neediest class of children in America is held by the leaders among the Jews. Oh my. Not by the masses of the Jews themselves. However, except when they are terrified by their leaders. The Jewish leaders terrify the Jewish citizens and force them into standing in their party line or their religion. They don't want the Christians helping them. Why? In St. Louis, application for a charter of the Jewish Christian Association was opposed. So somebody wanted to have a Jewish Christian Association, but that charter was turned down. Why? The converted Jews wanted an association of their own. The converted Jews to Christianity wanted an association of their own. Shouldn't they be allowed to? They represented that they had been ostracized by the Jews and were desirous of organizing and owning their own meeting place. And as I said before, this was in 1920s. And then 1940 to 45, World War II, when a lot of Jews in Germany were killed. Weren't a lot of Zionist Jews in high up places in the Hitler regime? And I suspect the Jews that were killed in Germany were probably the ostracized good Jews who weren't part of the New World domination plan. Just saying. So they were desirous of organizing and owning their own meeting place. A referee advised against the charter on the ground that it would be a contrary to the broad spirit of religious freedom guaranteed under the Constitution of Missouri. Wait a minute. The referee was, of course, coached by Jews. In Toronto, the Jewish leaders issued a proclamation throughout all Toronto Jewry forbidding the use of reading rooms, baths, dispensaries, motion picture shows, or anything else which they described as the petty bribery of conversionist tricksters who seek by their wealthy donators to open the gates of heaven and find salvation for their sins by converting weak-minded Jews. They didn't want the Jews to be converted and saved by Christianity. Henry Ford, thumbs up. By the way, all converted Jews are weak-minded or criminal if we are to believe the hundreds of statements to that effect in the Jewish papers. The Jews are, without exception, superior people until they become Christians, then learn what they are from the Jewish leaders. So long as they stick with the Jewish religion, they're superior. The Talmud, best of the goyim they want to kill, non-Jews. The Jews are, without exception, superior people until they become Christians. Still boggles my mind. This is serious business, let me tell you now. But that Donald Trump's son married a Jewish girl, and they're converting to Judaism, and his daughter married a Jewish guy, and they're converting to Judaism. So it's said on some of the YouTube videos, and I did a little homework. So the Donald Trump question as president, just a little things don't add up. Anyways, as you can see behind me, it's a fall day here in the mountains. Everything is changing colors and the leaves are falling, and I gotta go get a rake and clean the yard. Back to the book. Among the nice names for this welfare work are Jesus Holes, the names the Jews have named any kind of Christian organization helping Jewish people. Jesus Holes, Mission Traps, Jew Snatchers, Child Stealers. Oh my. It happened that one of the helpers in a Chicago gospel mission was principal of a Chicago public school. The Jews raised a great outcry against him, denounced him as unfit to teach children. And guilty of the moral turpitude of eating food provided by taxes in which a large share is received from Jews whose children they seek to entice from their parental religion, and whose men and women they are seeking to degrade into liars and hypocrites. So the Jews say that Judaism is not a religion. So I'm still perplexed. What are they talking about? And I guess they can't just come out and say it's Luciferianism. It's the devil. Well, moving on, page 13. So all because a competent man, this guy that was helping out with the charity, was willing to meet Jewish inquiries or perhaps bring a few of the benefits of civilization to the neglected ghetto. If this school teacher were Christian enough to have a conscience, he would resign, so said the Jewish press. Said the Jewish thunderers, and with that never-failing tinge of dark-mindedness, they added, "What is done in secret in these haunts, of course, can only be guessed at." So here's this school teacher in his spare time doing charity work at the Chicago Gospel Mission. A mission. You've seen missions on TVs. And these Jewish people said, "What is done in secret in these haunts can, of course, only be guessed at." Well, that's pretty horrible for them to say. What is going on in these missions can only be guessed at. Talk about bigotry, page 13. This from a people who encourage the cry that the Dearborn Independent is engaged in a religious persecution, though the Dearborn Independent has not yet carried even one of the scores of sensationalism and important stories which show the federal government discovering synagogues and rabbis as agents of the illicit liquor trade. Do you hear me? Illicit liquor traffic. These haunts and hints of the things that may go on there, these Christian missions, is the only way the American Israelite can find to refer to the welfare works in which some of the best people, from no motive but the goodness of their hearts, engage. Does anybody really believe that people working in these missions are evil? A book of 500 pages could be filled with the unreasonable and, in many cases, positively vicious statements of leading Jews on any of the subjects touched here. And all you need to do is look at 2015, watch the television, listen to the cartoon characters. But see, people watch Ellen DeGeneres and other shows, and they're not discerning. They're not paying attention. They're not seeing the subtle mind control. They bring on a little boy who complains he was treated in school because he's gay. How can a little 8-year-old boy be gay? Or some little girl writes a letter about her gay father's boyfriend. Bring her on Ellen DeGeneres. Bring her on this talk show. And you get all the zombie citizens out there looking at it, feeding that information into their brains, and buying the propaganda. Talk about snatching souls. I get a little riled up at this stuff. I'll never forget Pokemon, those little round things with the ghouly creatures on them. I thought to myself, wait a minute. I know, I took Psychology 101. That stuff imprints itself on the mind, those children. And 20 years later, 15 years later, you see adults walking down the street looking like Pokemon. I'm not kidding. The piercings all over the head, and tattoos, and skulls, and daggers, and dragons, and... Remember, Freud was Jewish. And most of the psychiatrists and investigators into this human mind control were Jewish. They knew what they were doing. They know what they're doing. They own the movie empire, TV empire, newspapers, controlling the school systems. Yeah, they have a religion for the rest of us. Satanism. So of course they want to destroy Christianity. That's only logical. The arch enemy. As that one writer here said in this book, The opposite of Christianity is their religion. Moving forward on page 14, the Jews do not like the Christian Sabbath. The literature of attack against this institution is voluminous, and the arguments extreme. Sunday is Christian. Therefore, to the Jew, it is taboo. Court records in every state bear testimony to the fight of the Jews against Sunday. Few legislators have escaped being pestered with bills on the subject. The latest fight has been the strongest yet waged to destroy Sunday by throwing it wide open to Jewish exploitation. Yet the Jews most cherish their own Sabbath. When recent college examinations fell on the Jewish holy days, the Jews had the examinations changed. When primary elections last year fell on Jewish days, every power was moved to change them. So 1% of the population, or less, is forcing the rest of us to go their way. Meanwhile, they're destroying our Christian holidays and our Sunday they want destroyed. So they can exploit the people. Right here it says here, there are Jewish records of a Western governor being remonstrated with because of a condemned criminal was sentenced to be hanged on Saturday. Did the governor mean to offend 3 million Jews? Saturday's their Sabbath. The St. Louis Charity Fair in 1908 planned to remain open on Friday evening, the fair. A great outcry. Did the managers of that fair mean to insult the Jews? Didn't they know that Jewish Sabbath began on Friday night? But when it is a question of maintaining the integrity of Sunday, pooh-pooh, it says here. Don't the Christians know that Sunday perpetuates the silliest superstition that their God Jesus rose from the dead? They think that's all superstitious. When certain people aid the post office, employees, in an attempt to close the post offices on Sunday, the Jews regard it as a step back towards the Dark Ages. The governor laid particular stress on the fact that for the first time in her history, Ohio now enjoys a Christian Sabbath. Just reading my highlighted sentences. The Israelite will take great pleasure about the time the leaves begin to turn in reminding Governor Cox of his statement that he will stand or fall by a Christian Sabbath in the coming campaign, American Israelite. So they're going to make sure he doesn't get elected because he's for the Christian Sabbath. These people control our government, and their religion is the opposite of Christianity, which only can be, in my opinion. And until Hillary can get to be the president and eliminate the Second Amendment and the First Amendment, I still have free speech in America. Remember, they said in other countries, it'd be illegal to have this book. Tell the truth. To tell the truth would be a crime. Can you believe that? Sunday has never been regarded as set apart in those countries where the Jewish idea has most infiltrated. The decline of Sunday in the United States is directly along the lines of those invasions for the Sunday spirit, which are mostly aligned with Jewish commercial interest. In Great Britain and her colonies, where the Jew is not permitted to usurp a superior place on the chief censor of morals and religion and education, Sunday is decently observed. So where the Jews are not permitted to usurp the superior place as chief censor of morals, religion, and education, Sunday is decently observed. The situation in this country is that instead of enjoying its liberty, the Jewish leaders have taken liberties. The theme of this article is religious prejudice. You will not find it anywhere within the whole range of the Jewish question, except on the Jewish side. There is, in the United States, a religious prejudice, but it is strictly Yiddish. That would be those Jewish people who came to America from the Russian Ukraine area after World War I. Made a mess of things. World War II. If the Christian population bothered 100,000th part as much about Jewish religion as the Jews bother about the Christian observances, the whole fabric of Talmudical teaching would be consumed in the bright light of which general attention would bring it, and the bright light from which it has always been concealed. So if we Christians bothered at examining and investigating their religion, 1/100,000% as to how much they try to destroy Christianity, it would bring bright light from which it has always been concealed. Sheer analysis in the interest of mental health, if undertaken by 50 men, would compel the Jewish people by their own decision to abandon the darkness which holds them now. The Talmud, Satanism, Luciferianism, Secret Mystery School Babylon, Illuminati, Freemasons, Rosicrucian, Jesuits, Zionists. All the secret goings-on, controlling our politicians. On and on. The list of headlines describing the various angles of Jewish anti-Christian religious prejudice is not, however, exhausted. The Jew is prejudiced against the Bible. Just reading my highlighted portions. Much more here. Get the book. Alright, when he uses that term, he does not mean what the ordinary person means. Therefore, he does what he can to destroy public honor of the book. Unless it be an occasion where a president has been inaugurated, when it will run through the Jewish press like a strong breeze, that once more has a Christian statesman ignored the Christian Bible and turned to the Jewish Bible. And yet, even here, we observe a strong paradox, strange paradox. A Jewish authority says, the Jew is a paradox. He is at once an idealist and a materialist. He is parsimonious and extravagant. He is courageous and cowardly. He is modest and vulgar. He is persistent and yielding. He is peaceful and warlike, and so on. And though the Jew opposes the Bible in the schools, he never misses a chance to put it there with the Jewish trademark. He quotes the Psalms. We wrote them. He quotes Isaiah. We Jews did that. So what they like about the Bible, it's theirs, and everything else, it's bad. Most people sit open-mouthed at those glorious authors of Scripture and do not know how to answer. It is time the churches begin to learn what to say to the Jewish taunts. We gave you your God. We gave you your Bible. We gave you your Savior. How can they say they gave us our Savior, and then at the other hand they say that Jesus didn't exist? In any case, the literature which the Jews wrongfully claim as their own production is rather far distant in time to justify its being used as a mantle of glory for the political rabbis, the discredited theoretical, and the movie magnates, and the violent penmen of the Jewish press. Rather too distant in time. We, the race that confronts the Jews, have done somewhat more recent work, for example, the Declaration of Independence and the Emancipation Proclamation, not to mention Psalms and the pronouncements of the great American prophets that have lifted up the world. So the Jew is very willing that the Bible should be in the schools, provided it is not what he calls the Christian Bible. Listen to this. Hebrew is to be taught in the Chicago high schools. So they want to teach their religion. The people of New Jersey thought so too. They believed that in reading from this ancient book every day would mean much to the general culture of the pupils. But what did the paper just quoted say about it? It called the cultivated Bible appreciators of New Jersey soul-snatching enthusiasts, and raised a mighty yell about the forcible conversion of Judaism, of Jewish children, although it was provided that Jewish or any other children should be excused from reading it if desired. So they want their text taught to our children, but not our text taught to their children. And no class of children is oftener out of school for religious reasons than the Jews. Moving on, page 18. These people are a paradox. They are not fair. They are constituted so that they cannot see the other side of anything. For a time, they actually do convince the secularists that everything public should be secularized, down to the last notch of atheistic demand. So wait a minute, if the Jews are atheists, then they can't have a religion. Atheism is believing in nothing. So like Rabbi Marvin Antelman writing the book to eliminate the opate, that's what they want to do. And when Jesus says, believe in me and you will be saved, they don't want you to be saved, apparently. Recruiting some more souls for the devil, I suspect. Non-Jews are fair. They're willing to see the other people's point of view. And the Jews will even tell you, this is a land of milk and honey. People welcome them, not prejudice. But in return, their prejudice against Christianity. Apparently, according to Henry Ford, and observations you can make about civilization in 2015 and the goings-on in the world now. Just pay attention to the television shows, the movies, the newspapers, the activities, 911, the slaughter of the Syrians, the proposed nuking and slaughtering of the Iranians. Just saying, unless the people wake up, it will not bode well for us. We discovered later that the Jewish children liked and appreciated the play better than the other group, any other group. So they were banning a play called Merchant of Venice. Brander Matthews helped us discover that. And so when they said reading the Bible is sheer proselytizing, it isn't fair. The non-Jew, who wanted to prove that he is fair and unprejudiced, above all things else, a weakness of the Jews know how to manipulate. So they know we're unprejudiced and we're kind, and that's a weakness the Jews know how to manipulate. Said, well, then out goes the Bible. And out it went. Very well, what next? You must abolish Christmas too. You must not keep Easter. The Jews don't like it. It is anti-Semitic to observe Good Friday. In other words, to please the sensitive Jewish natures, we must eradicate from Christian civilization all that is Christian in it. I enjoyed Christmas as a child and an adult. But these people want to destroy it. The Jews then proceeded to sow Judaism on the fields that denuded of Christianity. So once they eliminate Christianity, then they bring us the gay agenda and all the other atrocities and perverted activities and murder and mayhem and theft. Consolidation of all the resources, banning people from even using their own land to farm. Sustainability, global warming, ice age, terrorism, Ebola, plagues. On and on, these people control the world. Any doubt about that? No religion in the institution of the state. Yet in every state university last year there were, and in every state university this year there probably will be, courses of lectures delivered by Jewish rabbis, the lectures delivered in the colleges themselves, propagandizing the youth of the non-Jews with Judaistic religion, ethics, and economics. This is what so-called Jewish Chattanooga exists for. It is not a Jewish Chattanooga, but it is a Jewish propaganda and public education institutions. So it's again, separation of church and state is meant to destroy our Christianity, and Judaize us is their religion, which is the opposite of Christianity, which is Satanism. Would anybody argue that Satanism is not the opposite of Christianity? The opposite of thou shalt not kill is thou shalt kill. Aleister Crowley, the wickedest man alive, they called him, killing and sex with children, said, do as thou wilt. Changed his name so that it's spelled 666, the mark of the beast. Again, I keep saying, you don't have to be Sherlock Holmes to figure this out. That is the repayment the Jews have made for our fair-mindedness. Their demand for complete secularization is merely their preparation of the soil for their carefully organized sowing of the seed of Judaism. And they are going to make sure that everybody is hungry and needs money and borrows it from them and owes it to them, and then they can enslave everybody because you owe them. You see it coming? Credit cards, whatever. They've already done it. Look at that book, John Perkins, The Confessions of an Economic Hitman, convincing presidents and leaders of countries all over the world to borrow money, promising them that they will have a greater GNP, gross national product, knowing full well that it wouldn't work. So they were building these electrical systems and power plants, dispossessing all the natives from their nice clean streams and land. Now they live in dumps. And the people who resisted this, they machine gunned them to death all over South America and Africa and the world. Now for sustainability, the lands and waterways that they destroyed, these people, they want us all to stop using resources and live a more native life in slavery. The Jew glories in religious prejudice, as the American glories in patriotism. Religious prejudice is the Jews' chief expression of their own true patriotism. It is the only well-organized, active, and successful form of religious prejudice in the country because they have succeeded in pulling off the gigantic trick of making not only their own attitude, but any other opposition to it bear the stigma of prejudice and persecution. This is why the Jew uses these terms so frequently. He wants to label the other fellow first. That is why any investigation of the Jewish question is so quickly advertised as anti-Semitic. The Jews knows the advantage of labeling the other man. Wrong labels are most useful. They have all kinds of names. Anti-government, belligerent. You start to tell the truth about things that are going on that you don't agree with. Disarming America. Going to war. Creating fabricated situations, false flags, like 9/11 to completely annihilate all the countries in the Middle East. Don't tell the truth. You're an anti-government belligerent. You get on the red list. They'll come get you, a little red sticker on your mailbox, and a van will show up and snatch you and take you to some prison because you're telling the truth. And you won't desert Jesus and quit talking about Christianity, enjoying their little debauchery. Go down to the local debauchery club. This does not by any means exhaust the list of headlines describing the various avenues in which the expression of virulent Jewish religious prejudice and persecution is found. It is not a pleasant subject. Religious prejudice is just as unpleasant to write about as it is to experience in any other way. It is totally contrary to the genius of the American and Anglo-Saxon. We have always regarded religion as a matter of conscience. To believe as he will is part of every man's fundamental liberty. Sometimes I read the word and my brain spits it out before I focus on it clearly. To believe as he will is part of every man's fundamental liberty. To interfere with force to change anyone's belief is exceedingly stupid. So they shouldn't be forcing me to change my belief. I was down at my favorite jazz club the other night, having a beer, listening to some local jazz music. I was talking to a friend of mine, and he said, well, what'd you do? And I said, well, I made a video today. And then I told him, I think I'm going to make a video on the Bible. And he proceeded to tell me what he thought was a joke. He said, oh yeah, I was in the library once, and I saw the Bible. I go, okay. And he goes, well, I went to tell the librarian the Bible was in the wrong department. He said, they had it in the nonfiction. Get it? People have been mind-controlled, turned into zombies. This guy was a retired lawyer. Holding these hereditary principles, one chooses to study that active stream of influence in American life, which is known as the Jewish stream, and immediately upon doing so, one finds himself classed with the bigots and torturers of other times. It is now time to show that the cry of bigot is raised mostly by bigots. And I'm reminded of the Psychology 101, the rationalization theory. When you see a person that says, that person's a thief, that's a thief, that person's a thief, that person's a thief, and you know somebody, and it keeps coming out of their mouth, you know that that person is actually a thief who's saying it. Because he's a thief, he thinks everybody else is a thief. The same thing with people who are perverted. Maybe cheaters. That person's cheating on his wife, cheating on his husband, cheating on him. Rationalization. It's like holding up a mirror to the person who keeps on spouting those things. That person's a cheater. Just remember that. Rationalization. So these people here, that they keep crying out bigot at us for Christianity, and they keep doing it as a group of people. Rationalization. They're the bigots. They're the ones who are intentionally destroying Christianity through legislation, threatening congressmen, presidents, people who swear their hand on the Bible. They can't use a Christian Bible. There is a religious prejudice in this country. There is indeed a religious persecution. There is a forcible shoving aside of the religious liberties of a majority of the people. And this prejudice and persecution and the use of force is Jewish. Nothing but Jewish. This is the answer to the cry of the religious persecution, and we shall make it so complete and definite that a repetition of the cry against students of the Jewish question will automatically mark the criers as either too ignorant or too vicious for consideration. June 1921. Alright, I think I'll do a document review. Alright, a couple documents here, keep it simple, but important. So they had that shooting in Oregon, did they? So two things happened while that was on the headlines of the newspaper. Apparently, the Pacific Trade Agreement was signed. I guess awaiting the Senate approval, but signed and completed. That's a big thing. More destroying of the United States of America. More consolidating the world into a one world organization. And number two, this press release came out. Humanitarian crisis in Syria is worsening. Horrified UN official warns. So this came out, and they're signing the Pacific Trade Agreement, while over here in Oregon, they got a guy shooting up a college. Don't look over here, look over here. And the newspaper doesn't put this regular press or the Pacific Trade Agreement done in secret, but they put that school shooting. Convenient, you think? Alright, August 17, 2015. This is what they've been doing to Syria. Relentless. They've been having a hard time. They thought Syria would go down like Egypt did, or Tunisia, Afghanistan, Iraq. But apparently they're striving to survive, Assad and his people, to maintain their sovereignty against the New World Order folks. It makes one wonder, is this what they have planned for the U.S. when they do get the guns and try to convert the rest of us? Syria has been locked in a civil war since 2011. At least 250,000 people have been killed. And I don't call it a war. It's an attack by NATO and the Pentagon and the Israelis, Zionism, New World Order, banksters, and everybody. Part of this whole big plan we're reading about. Have been killed, says the United Nations top humanitarian official. Stephen O'Brien speaks at the end of a 3-day visit to Syria. The top UN humanitarian official said Monday that the conflict in Syria continues to escalate and that he is horrified by what he sees. Stephen O'Brien spoke to reporters at the end of the 3-day visit to Syria. I'm absolutely horrified by the total disregard for civilian life. So let's destroy Christianity, which is for civilian life, and let's take on the Satanism, which is intended to destroy Christian life by all parties in this conflict. Attacks on civilians is unlawful, unacceptable, and must stop. I appeal to every party engaged in violence and fighting to protect civilians and to respect international humanitarian law. So they're going to go ahead and keep on killing civilians until Assad gets wiped out. And then, of course, like all these other countries, they put in puppet leaders like we have here in the United States. We don't elect our presidents, but the people are too zombified to realize it. And the craziness is continuing in the United States. All right, this other document. A further investigation into Talmudic law. I thought I would continue to educate myself about the Talmud, special book of these Jewish people that the Old Testament Jewish people and the Torah Jewish people don't like. The good Jews don't like the bad Jews, and this is the Zionism, and they're trying to say anti-Zionism is anti-Semitic, which is a bunch of baloney. They want to rule the world from over there in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, and if you don't like it, you're anti-Semitic, anti-government belligerent, an insurgent. If you don't surrender your gun, you're a terrorist. You talk about the Bible, you're an adulterer. You're to be beheaded. While they're into the occult and witchcraft. Does any of this make any sense? Why the ACL includes Talmudic law in its research? This is going to be just too insane to believe. But apparently they want to get rid of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights in Christianity and bring us Talmudic law. May as well make Aleister Crowley and his book as Do As Thou Will, the Law of the Land. Chaos and Anarchy, as George Bush Sr. said, who also said that one day the United States people will pledge allegiance to the United Nations. Communitarian law has its roots in ancient Egyptian Judaic communities. Communitarian sounds like communist. Our government has embraced the religious politics of militant Zionism. That's what it says here. 12307 by Nikki Rapana. Our government, the United States, has embraced the religious politics of militant Zionism. President Bush and 3 members of the United States Supreme Court support balancing the Constitution of the United States against Judaic law. Commutarium legal theory is based part on the Kabbalah. So they're going to base our new law here in the United States and probably the world on witchcraft, the Kabbalah. Talmudic law forms the foundation of commutarianism. You can't make this stuff up. I'm interpreting it the way I interpret it. You can read it and interpret it the way you want to. But I highlighted some stuff here. Relationships. Treating others as objects. Not like Jesus said, treating others as you want to be treated. This is part of this new law of the land. Later, while studying sociology at Hebrew University, Antonio discovered the concept of anomia, the condition of spiritual aimlessness that Durkheim argued was the result of modernity's loss of social fabric. Aimlessnesses. That's what they want. Nobody to believe in God, but be aimlessnesses. Boyatin tells us his adopted name was created by fusing Hebrew words truth, tree, and Israel, Zion. The Kabbalah is a truth tree. Buber's dialogues was based on the Helena dialectic. That's cause a problem and then come to the rescue to save everybody from the problem that you caused. Like 911 caused that so you can go kill all the Arabs. Buber's theory was also the foundation for Nazi-funded research that substantiates modern anthropology. What is the Talmud? Talmud 101 explains, in addition to written scriptures, we have an oral Torah, a tradition explaining what the 5 books of Moses mean and how to interpret them and apply the laws. And you can see I highlighted some stuff. I didn't read it all. You can go look it up. It's on the internet. Alright, so they had oral tradition and finally somebody started writing it down. This tradition was maintained in oral form only until about the 2nd century CE after Christ, when much of the oral law was compiled and written down in a document called the Mishnah. Over the next few centuries, authoritative commentaries elaborating on the Mishnah and recorded the rest of the oral law were written down in Israel and Babylon. These additional commentaries are known as the Tosifa, I'm saying all these names wrong, Miketa, Safra, Safri, Jerusalem Talmud, Babylonian Talmud. The last was completed about 500 CE. The 2 largest works are the Jerusalem Talmud and the Babylonian Talmud. And the Babylonian one is more comprehensive and is the one most people mean when they refer to the Talmud. So the mystery school of Babylon, which are all of Freemasons, Rosicrucians, Zionism, witchcraft, wizards and Jesuits, and all these mystery schools are referenced here. That William Cooper, Bill Cooper, look up his series, The Mystery School of Babylon, talks a lot about this stuff. And I got many books, and I'm going to talk more about it. We've got plenty of topics to go on to. Another one that I think is interesting, I need to take a really hard look at. I think all those alien books, UFOs and aliens. Remember, the press in America and the world was owned by the people of the New World Order, Yiddish, Jewish people that Henry Ford talks about, and they had a goal and they wanted to destroy Christianity. I'm saying it looks like, and I think I'm going to look into it deeply, that the UFO and all those books was a fabricated propaganda attempt, and it worked. Remember, they wanted to get everybody away from Christianity and believing in God. So they brought us aliens, and they published all those books. Sensationalism, like those tabloids. Just saying, it's a logical explanation. Looking at what we're dealing with today. Alright, so examples of how the Torah Talmud can be interpreted. You're not going to believe this. A clear halacha, religious rule, stated in the Mishnah Torah of the Rambam, Jewish sage Maimonides. Okay, here we go. Explicitly forbids Gentiles, like Jews, from celebrating any religious holidays not found in Torah or rabbinic tradition. So it explicitly forbids Gentiles from celebrating any religious holidays not found in the Torah or rabbinic tradition. So I suppose Christmas will be a crime. The rule further requires all Jews to be involved in teaching Gentiles this rule. So they will be forcing these rules on us, which applies to such Christian holidays as Christmas, Easter, and Halloween. Oh my, they're going to take out Halloween. That'll stir up some problems. But not Christmas or Easter, which should be what stirs people up. The Levitcher Rebbe has publicly taught this. Related halacha rules. You can get this document and read it better than me. And has made it clear that since there are no opinions in Torah to contradict them, such rules apply to us today. The Rebbe has further instructed Jews that whenever we see a project, listen up, or a campaign that must be done, or any action that is needed, we need not ask permission from any authority. But rather take immediate action on our own initiative. So they're going to make sure that we learn that we cannot sell by law. Get rid of the Constitution, get rid of the Bill of Rights, and give us Talmudic law in the USA. And these Illuminati gangster skull and bone members ruling our country, presidents and senators and all these people who have joined the dark side, are in on this. In accordance with these guidelines, members of the JAHG-USA wrote a flyer promoting our campaign to abolish Christmas celebration. It was aimed at recruiting Jewish support, featured key quotations from the Mennonites, the Rebbe, and other sources. In November 2001, 2 volunteers posted this flyer in a major Shabbat synagogue in Los Angeles, while some members of the congregation repeatedly tore down the flyers with the Holy Torah quotations. The volunteers instead distributed the flyers throughout the neighborhood to Jewish homes. All I did is put in Talmud to do some research. And I think I just chose the first 2 at the top of the list. And I already went over one in the last video. But Talmudic law, here it is right here. And apparently everything that I'm saying is what it is. Oh my. What is Jewish law? Jewish law in the internet world. 66th IFLA Council and General Conference, Jerusalem, Israel. So I got references here. The Israel Matz Institute for Research in Jewish Law. Yeah, we got a new world order coming with some crazy surprises for people. Faculty of Law, Hebrew University of Jerusalem, Mount Scopus, Jerusalem, Israel. Jewish Law, megalaw.com, Lawyer's Window to the Web. Many great links posted here, including Babylonian Talmud Codes of Law. The New World Order is not going to include the Constitution of the United States and the Bill of Rights. Non-Jews will be treated like animals and enslaved. You do not have rights. God chose them as the chosen people so they can rule over you. So it appears that they think. They want to microchip everybody. No, everybody, they're already microchipping children and everything. They're monitoring everybody, computerizing all the data. They want to remove the guns. Hillary said so last week. They keep doing these gun shootings, using the propaganda on TV. And most American people are just ignorant zombies who don't see they're being fooled. When they put these institutions in place and they find out what the Jewish people really think about non-Jewish people, not all Jewish people, then it'll hit the fan and people will be disarmed, so they won't be able to do anything about it. And a lot of people will be deemed unworthy to live if you're not contributing to the system. Or the right DNA, I suspect. Regulations Concerning the Public and the Individual in the Talmud by Shalom Albeck in Jewish Political Studies Review Abstracts. All right, here we go. There's more here. What is Judaic Law Institute? Before you know where you're going, you have to know where you came from. And the Jewish law is the basis of our system, of our legal system in America. I'll say it again. And the Jewish law is the basis of our legal system in America. That's what they want people to believe. And apparently our government is operating on these pretexts here, because we all know no matter what they do, they don't take the citizens' opinion into any consideration. The elections are all forgeries. They've already, the people that we're running and we're supposed to vote for is all a scam. The National Institute for Judaic Law was announced as a way to promote the applications of its teachings into U.S. courtrooms. Remember, they think that when a Jew comes before the judge, he gets off. And when a Gentile goes before the judge, he goes to jail. They do have favoritism. Remember that. Reported by Jane Zachariah in the Jerusalem Post, November 9, 2002. The launch of the Washington-based National Institute for Judaic Law was marked Tuesday night with a kosher dinner at the Supreme Court. And there, the Supreme Court's the one who just voted, and only because it was stacked with Jewish justices, and said that no state could ban gay marriage. So they had a kosher dinner at the Supreme Court attended by 200 people, including 3 Supreme Court justices, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Stephen Breyer, and Antonio Scalia. Oh my. U.S. President George Bush sent greetings and applauded the Institute for promoting an understanding of the Judaism's rich tradition of legal thought. As we face new challenges and welcome new opportunities, our society must continue to promote good character and strong values. Through the study and teaching of Jewish law and philosophy, you are contributing to a growing culture of service, citizenship, and responsibility in America, Bush wrote. I've done a few hours on these numerous books in the last 5 series. Since 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, and now 71. And then Bush says they're providing a service to our society. They were involved in 9/11. How does Talmudic law affect the USA? The first 10 amendments of the U.S. Constitution are called the U.S. Bill of Rights. The law expressly forbids the establishment of a state church. This is the only legal rule of law in the United States. The original Bill of Rights is a 1-page document. Any literate second grader can read it. The Jewish Egyptian Talmud is enormous and includes mysticism, magic, witchcraft, unwritten and hidden text, and much of the discourse about it is only written in Hebrew and practiced in Egyptian secret ceremonies. They worship the light being. Are you hearing me? And Bush says, promoting good character and strong values. Norson Garary, a Lebervich rabbi, insists Jewish law is the basis of our legal system in America. But that's not entirely true. Property rights, common law, natural law, and the need to protect individuals from tyrants is the basis of the legal system in America. American law was designed to protect the people from their government. Jewish law is not American law. It's Israeli law. It's also a vast ancient library that claims that Jews are God's chosen people. It has another set of laws for non-Jews. So they have a set of laws for them and another set of laws for us, who must obey a complex set of confusing rules and regulations that give control over daily life functions to an agent of the Jewish court. Sounds like slavery by the Jews. Much like the religious law practiced by priests of the Holy Roman Empire and the Protestant churches in Europe, Jewish law does not protect the rights and liberties of the common-born man as does U.S. law. It protects the rights of their elites to confiscate all private land and direct the lives of the people placed under their care. Do you not see what sustainability is all about? It's giving them a reason to enact and put into place these laws. Sustainability. It's global warming. It's giving them a reason to enact these laws. I say any excuse, pollution, Ebola, plagues, terrorism, gun shootings. The disorganized society is going to need a solution. And when they disorganize it enough, they will bring on the solution called the Hellenic dialectic. I just said here, and I'm saying it wrong. U.S. law is also based partially on American colonial understanding of the Old Testament. The phone ringeth. Jewish law was modified and changed by the Son of God himself, Jesus. And you can see why God sent Jesus. The world at that time was in one heck of a mess. That was 2,000 years after Moses had rescued the Hebrews from the Egyptians. And things were just horribly bad for hundreds and hundreds of years. So the beginning of the age of Pisces is when Jesus was born and came into the world to teach us to treat each other how we want to be treated. And the Jewish people, obviously, were offended by that with their dominant system of usury and control, enslavements of people. Harems and all. How dare Jesus suggest that we all love one another and treat each other good? Okay, Jewish law is not anywhere near the same as the principle of Christian biblical law. Jesus spent a lot of time arguing against Jewish law. So they want to bring us Jewish law back. And after they've worked for 100 years since Henry Ford wrote in his book I just went over, they've been trying to destroy Christianity. Rabbi Marvin Antleman writing to eliminate the opate, to eliminate our belief in God and Jesus, and even Henry McCall and many other authors, PhD, Canadian author, Illuminati, these secret mystery school people ruling at the top of the pyramid, the cult that hijacked the world. It's all adding up. Christ challenged the authority of the Jewish rabbis and taught his followers a more peaceful path to heaven. Old Testament Jews in the early Catholic Church regularly slaughtered their enemies as directed by the vengeful God of the Old Testament. So we know what's going on in the Middle East. They're slaughtering their so-called enemies, and the only reason they're enemies are because they're there. Just because they exist, they need to die. And they say that about the Goyim too. All of us who are non-Jews in the United States and Europe, the best of the Goyim shall be killed. in the Talmud. So Jesus was brutally tortured and crucified for breaking Jewish law. The American founders, many of whom were devoutly religious Freemasons, so back then the Freemasons were probably okay, believed in a universal creator. The creator of all life was called God by most of the American founders. Even George Washington warned, and he was the leader of the Freemasons, warned about the secret goings-ons, knowing full well that the Illuminati or the Judaic law of the Talmud people were probably trying to take over. Again, like I say, people go, well, they brainwashed us and told us that Jesus didn't exist and it's all a myth. Okay, explain it to me. Go look at your calendar. You got a calendar at home. You got a calendar on your cell phone. It's 2015. It's 2015 years since Jesus was born. This is a Christian world. And these evil people want to destroy that world. They say that on the USA Georgia Guidestones. They want to reduce the population to 500 million worldwide. And many other things. And has R.C. Christian on it, Rosicrucians. Secret Mystery School of Babylon. Witchcraft, mysticism, occultism, occultic Kabbalah. Make no mistake. Satanism, Luciferium, the god Moloch, sacrificing people to death, pedophilia with children, homosexuality, adultery. The opposite of the Ten Commandments. As I said in the Henry Ford book that rabbi said, Christianity is the opposite of our religion. See, sometimes they blurt out things. It's like the calendar, they can continue their argument all day long. There was no Jesus. Then why does the calendar say 2015? They're trying to reprogram us people. Rewrite history. Eliminate the truth. All right. They established every common man's inalienable right to pursue a happy life comes directly from God the moment a man is born. So they got no right to be sky spraying us, microwaving us, mind controlling us. Fluoride in the water, fluoride in the toothpaste, fluoride probably in the food and all kinds of other stuff. Going into our school systems, teaching the children garbage. God gave us the inalienable right to pursue a happy life. Many founders further believed that only a nation based in Christian principles and the Ten Commandments could survive as a form of government designed to protect God-given natural rights. For 200 years, testimony in American courtrooms was sworn to be true with one hand over the heart and the other hand on a copy of the Christian Bible. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God, was the question asked by every American court. That's because almost every American was raised to understand and obey the Ten Commandments. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not covet somebody else's stuff. Thou shalt not bear false witness. Only a handful of Americans have any idea what the Talmud is. There are also only a handful of Jews who know all the laws, including in the Talmud. Most of the Jews are innocent of this, but they have to do what their higher-ups tell them. Let's repeat the above Bush quote again, George Bush. As we face new challenges and welcome new opportunities, our society must continue to promote good character and strong values. Through the study and teaching of Jewish law and philosophy, you are contributing to a growing cultural and service, censorship and responsibility, citizenship, and responsibility in America, Bush wrote. This quote by Bush explains the new communitarian ideology of America's need for assigned, mandatory community service. You get that? People, you and me, will be assigned mandatory community service. The new requirements for American citizenship, based only on communitarian values, and a new responsibility all Americans have to have to the emerging communitarian collective government, U.S. rule of law is rapidly changing on many different fronts. So I'm going to stop here. I got several more pages of this Talmudic thing to go over in the next Henry Ford video. Oh my! A lot of stuff here that's concerning. Thank you for watching my video, Rick Miracle reporting.